Hey everybody, I've got another video to test out the battle report app that I used before, but instead of a battle report, I'm going to use it to do a little showcase of how I painted a Skaven rat ogre. Now, hopefully this app works for this process. I'm sure it will. So the Skaven rat ogre, he's been primed for a couple years along with the rest of the Skaven army that I will be, showcasing shortly in all of its highly unfinished glory. It is definitely a project for unfinished business, which may be one of my next episodes. Speaking of which, I did film an episode for Bolt Action for Unfinished Business. However, that night I painted some Bolt Action stuff, and since then I had painted a bit, so it does need a quick little update. I've also have some other ideas that I was throwing around since filming that video, and then some other news that will change that. But that's all for another video. Forget all that. Let's get back to this Skaven rat ogre, and we'll talk about that other stuff later. Anyway, so this guy's been brown primed for a while, a few years. He's been pushed around into different bins. He wasn't part of his Skaven group because I used him in my Ogre Kingdoms army once or twice as a character, just because he was a big model, which worked, but he was also brown primed instead of beige primed like the rest or painted like the rest, so I could use him as a unique figure. But then I built my BSB and my general, so I didn't have to use him anymore. Anyway, so he's been looking for a paint job, since Island of Blood came out like 4 years ago. So yeah, the other night, last night, I decided let's paint him. He's next. So here we go. So I didn't take a picture of him just primed, which once I started painting him, I'm like, oh darn, totally forgot that. So I'm going to start with the color I used to start painting him, and painting his body, not his fur, but his body. So it's P3's Beast Hide, and this is what he looks like with all of his skin done. I didn't do his fur or any other details. And there's his back with the Beast Hide. Appropriate name, really. And then the next thing I did was I took Rin Flesh, and that went on his tail. And I had forgotten what color I used for the tails of the few Skaven that I had painted. But I figured Rin Flesh with the wash later would be fine. It wouldn't be too bright. And I guess rat tails are pretty like beigey, fleshy. I also used Trader Green on his loincloth, and I would use it again later for other cloth, but at this point I only use it for the loincloth. Hammerfall Khaki I used for a big patch of his skin on his chest, which to me felt kind of like it was grafted from some other, I don't know, other rat ogre or something. So kind of like a Frankenstein look, as you can tell, like he's got like stitching and he's definitely sewed up. So I figured that would be cool, and it'll change his skin tone up a bit. I also used it on his around his mouth, and that's something that I think I used with my other rats. And originally I did actually use Rin Flesh on his mouth, but it was way too bright, so I covered it up with Hammerfall Khaki. And then the last thing I did was Bootstrap Leather to do his fur, and that's like around his shoulders, around his legs and his rear end, and a couple other places. And that's what he looks like at this point. So you can see the piece on his chest. You can see his fur, his muzzle, his loincloth there, and then his tail, which right now looks very bright compared to the rest of the colors, but later on it'll be fine. I used the Sanguine base, which is like a reddish purple, I guess, inside his mouth, just to have like a bit of red but a bit of dark, and I didn't want it to be a red or a black, so I felt that Sanguine base worked okay. I used pig iron for the metals, which is pretty much the armor on his arm. I forget. Does that have a name? It's not a gauntlet. I don't know, some kind of like armor. I forget what that is. Um, and then the buckles, he has like a couple buckles around his arm, and then his one big belt buckle. And then umber is what I used for his belt and the straps around his armor. And here you can see that doesn't look that different, but you can see the metal and then these straps and the belts and stuff. At this point, I skipped ahead and I used the Moral White to paint the stitches all over his body, and then I realized I should have waited until after I colored in the all of his like scarring, but I did it in the wrong order, but it worked okay. So I did the Moral White for the stitches. I used the ball red flesh, or not ball red wash on his on all of his scars, and he has a few scars on his arms, a bunch on his back. And I also use it for his nipples and a few little got like these little bumps like warts or something around his body um, and around his eyes, just to because he is like a big monster, and so I figure maybe he's got some red eyes for whatever reason. I used Cador Red Base for his eyes, just two little dots on his eyes. Trader Green, again, I used it for the cloth, so there's a bit of wrapping around his head and a bit of wrapping around his right leg near the back. And then Thrall Flesh I used for, oh, his teeth and his nails. So here you can see, you can't see it super well, but actually, yeah, I think you can actually. You can see the red lines along his scarring. Now, at this point, it looked really cool. I really liked how it popped out, and it looked like this like deep scars, and it was kind of creepy. And here it is on his back, and I think it looked really good here. Now, later on, you'll see when I added the wash for the whole body, it kind of covered that all up. So I might try and go back and see if I can add a bit more and pop that red back out again. I don't know if it'll work, but I will try. You can see some of the other colors that I mentioned. His nails, the cloth, his eye you can't really see, but it's in there. And then an old favorite, Seraphim Sepia, my shade of choice, my wash of choice. These days, it used to be Ogre and Flesh, but now Seraphim Sepia is what I've used for like almost every model I've painted in the last like year. And this is what he looks like. I will get better pictures for sure. And I think at this point the wash was still drying in some places, so I don't know if that changes the way he looks. But yeah, I think he looks pretty cool. And there's his back. As you can see, the red in the scarring kind of disappeared a bit, but I will try to go back and see if I can fix it up. But I think he looks great. I think the colors, the bright colors especially, became a bit more subdued, and they blend nicely together after that wash. And the basing, I will wait until I know what I'm going to do with all my rats. All the rats that I've painted so far look like this. They just have their base with the brown prime on it. Yeah, so I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I'll have to decide later, but that's it for now. So there's my Skaven Rat Ogre, number 1, and I think I have another 3 or 5. No, I think 5 actually. So once I get back to playing Skaven and painting Skaven, I'll do some of the other ones. But glad I finally got this guy painted, and I am quite happy with the way he turned out. Again, better pictures at some point when I can get my actual light box out and some lights out and take good pictures. But till then, this should do, and hopefully this video works all right. Let me know if the format's okay. I think it should be okay, but let me know. Comment, um, comment, question, query, all that stuff. Thanks for watching. Have a good one. See ya.